Welcome. My name is Stephen Tilson. I am the IB history teacher or I'm one of the IB history teachers here at Marietta High School. I want to say welcome. I've got a little show for you that I'm going to present here in just a second. And to start out, let me just go ahead and share my screen with you. I do teach a class called IB History of the Americas. If you don't mind, I put a QR code right here on the screen. If you have an iPhone, you can just put your camera up to that, and that will take you to a digital sign-in that I'll get. If you have an Android, I assume it's the same thing, but I actually don't know whether it's an iPhone only thing or whether both platforms can do it. But that will give me an opportunity to collect your email address, student name, your name, and that will allow me to contact you just in case anything needs, anything arises or whatever. The next page, this is my contact information. If you need anything, I just want to let you know that that's my email address. Please reach out if you have confusion, if you have questions, anything you want. That's the email address that I use. That's our school work email address. I also have 2 remind codes. If your student is a junior, you'll use that top one, that year 1 remind code. If your student is a senior, you'll use that bottom one, that bottom remind code. And that links you up to how I communicate with the children or the students. I typically use Remind as a communications tool because it allows me to quickly access them and it allows them to quickly access me. I think it's a valuable tool, but if you want, I typically send out reminds for tests and quizzes and homework and things like that. So if you'd like to keep in the loop with that, please go ahead and sign up. Here are 2 syllabi. I have them linked here on the video, but I'm going to go ahead and pull them up and show them to you. And let's see, new share. I'm not going to read through this entire thing with you. This is our year 1 syllabus, but I want to point out a couple of things for you. Course tutoring days are Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30, and then 2 to 4:30 in the afternoon. And then Friday, 8 to 12 by appointment. I say by appointment just because a lot of times we have meetings going on and I don't actually have an active Zoom open. Monday through Thursday I have an active Zoom open, so if you just pop in using our Zoom link, it will work and I'll be there. On Fridays it's not open. I do use Schoology like the other teachers for my class. My course tutoring is all designated to virtual office hours. I do ask that the students message me first just so I know that they're coming in. And a lot of times you can imagine I've got, 100 and some students. If I'm really in depth with one of them, I may tell your student or another student like, hey, let me finish up with this person first and then I'll get to you. IB History of the Americas is a 2-year course. I'm not going to quite go through the whole thing with you, but I do want to look at the course overview and design. I do expect a lot out of the students. In year 1, one of the main things we do is the internal assessment, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It's a huge assignment that students are going to be required to do during their junior year. And senior year students who have already done it need to resubmit it to me their senior year. So it's a big assignment. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we start that the junior year and score it, and it's worth 20% of their grade. I use informal lecture/discussion formats. It is always intellectual. It is always discussion-based. We do in-class assignments working on skills as it relates to the IB history exam. And I replicate essentially the skills in class that they're going to need for their IB exam come May of their senior year. So I just assume that every student is going to take the IB exam, even though some do not, but that's the assumption. And I teach all students the same way to prepare them for a rigorous IB exam. And I think they're lifelong skills anyway. So I think all students benefit even if they don't take the exam. This is the course overview. We spend 6 weeks talking about some topics, but the real focus is skills, right? We want to develop a set of skills that students are not really used to. that are important in IB history. So we kind of do the skills through these topics. You can kind of give an idea what we go through. We spend then 4 weeks, which is week 6, on the internal assessment. And that's where we write this paper. And it ends up usually about 12 pages. I will send home I will upload to Schoology a very, very detailed description of how to do it, how to be successful. And then we move on and we teach, these are our 3 major IB topics. Second World War in the Americas. You can kind of see an idea of what we would cover. We talk about political developments in Latin America. This is the second semester stuff. You can kind of get an idea of what we cover there. And then lastly, we talk about civil rights and social movements in America after World War II. You see a list of everything we would cover there. We do use IB history textbooks that are available to us, and it will be available to your student. For them, materials, all they really need is whatever they would need to take notes and keep things organized. It's super important to stay organized because this course, like I said, is a 2-year course. And therefore, what they learn in year 1 is also what they'll use in year 2. Let's see, grade weights. I use a 70-30 format. So 70% of everything they do will go into one bucket, and that is, or it's weighted at 70%. Excuse me, it's not necessarily 70% of what they do. But it's weighted at 70%, and that's what we call formative assessments. It's basically anything that they're still working on, homeworks and classwork and quizzes and things like that would all go into that formative assessment. And then summative would be unit tests, right? Unit exams specifically testing the skills. And then in the second semester, 20% of your grade or the student's grade is the internal assessment. And that is going to be due on the first day of second semester. So it's really awesome for the students if they do a great job on it, that they have this huge chunk of a grade right away, and it kind of sets them and helps them up for the rest of the semester. This is Marietta's makeup work policy. I haven't changed anything. That's directly from Marietta, but I am a little bit lenient with that. And I typically give 1 extra credit assignment per semester. So I'm going to switch over to year 2 to give you an idea. So if you're a senior teacher, this is essentially, and a lot of that is replicated. Tutoring hours are the same. That's that Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and then 2 to 4:30 in the afternoon. I use the same email address, which you can see right there, which hopefully you already have. This is the second half of the course. So we really seek to develop what they call their IB skills. This is where it really matters because they're going to take a test at the end of the senior year. This is kind of our course overview. We use Europe in the First World War, which we talk about this topic that is the cause of 20th century war. And students are tasked with comparing 2 wars. So we use the First World War and the Second World War. And then we also use a topic called the rise of authoritarian states, which we look at Nazi Germany as an authoritarian state. We briefly mention the Italian authoritarian state under Benito Mussolini. And then we look at Imperial Japan and essentially go through all the way through World War II. We have textbooks, IB textbooks just the same, and everything else is the same. We do use that same 70-30, but I also broke down kind of what to expect point value-wise. So like if you do an in-class assignment or homework, that's typically around 10 to 25 points. And this holds true for year 1, too. Quizzes are typically around 25 to 50 points, and all tests are going to be 100 points. And I use that 70-30 weight. During the senior year, the IA, which is due, goes into this summative assessment. So it's a 100-point test grade, essentially. Makeup policy is the same. We talk about academic dishonesty a lot in the senior year because they're writing these big essays, and we use a program called Turnitin to do that. So Turnitin is great because it checks to see if there's any plagiarism, and we really don't have to worry about it as much. I'm going to switch back over. I'd like to offer you to reach out if you need anything from me. I hope that your student really enjoys this year. I know it's not ideal because we're all virtual, but hopefully we'll be back in the classroom together. And if you need anything, please reach out. Thank you.